Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. After talking to a lot of people in recent days and reading a lot of articles, I wanted to give you a current picture of the aftermath of the attacks in Würzburg. I talked about that in a previous video. Long story short, one of Angela's guests struck again. He injured a lot of people and 3 of his victims are no longer with us. And today I want to tell you a little bit about how German society reacted to that, how people think about that, what politicians and media journalists had to say about this issue or these events. First of all, I have to say that it seems like 90% of Germans are still fine with the way things are. They either cheer on these developments, or they are indifferent to them, or they are kind of okay with them, but they're not really against it. Only around 10% of Germans would consider voting for the AfD, and that is the only larger party that wants to do something against these things, that wants to protect the population in Germany by making sure that these people who have no business in being here, that are not legally here or that shouldn't be here in the first place, they are removed from Europe, they are removed from Germany, so that most of these deeds can be prevented before they even happen. And all the other parties are basically okay with that, or they created the environment for these things to happen in the first place. The best example is the conservative party CDU and their sister party CSU, and who was leading these parties at the time when these changes were made, 2015, right? That is also when the suspect, let's call him a suspect even though he was caught on video, when they came to Europe, when they came to Germany, well, it was Angela Merkel and Horst Seehofer. Angela Merkel doesn't say anything, and Horst Seehofer, he had a very interesting thing to say. Remember, he is Minister for the Interior right now. What did he say? He said that when a 24-year-old man is living in a homeless shelter, then society clearly dropped the ball, and society, Germans basically, should have taken better care of this poor young man. Remember, says the guy who is responsible for the fact that this guy is in Europe to begin with. Then there is a statement of the German central government. What is the Merkel regime saying? They say that these horrible deeds are against the values of any religion. Then the mayor of Würzburg said that he cried about this. Well, that is very great for him, that is very interesting, but it doesn't help the victims and it doesn't help to prevent these cases in the future. And what does he have to say here? Well, he says that we need more tolerance and that we shouldn't be suspicious of foreigners. Yeah, great, right? His biggest concern is now that there might be generalizing statements about foreigners. He also says that after World War II, there had never been any generalizations about Germans, and we should remember that. This guy is a real comedian, I think. He should go on stage, I think. Oh, and by the way, this conservative mayor of Würzburg is also a friend of Antifa, and he also supports the globalist NGOs that bring these people in with boats on the Mediterranean Sea. And then, of course, there is the national team of Germany that played against England yesterday, and they lost. They're out of the Euro Cup, but that doesn't really matter here. So imagine this. There was a vile and vicious attack on Germans just a couple of days before that. And what are they doing? They're bending the knee. And they're bending the knee for the perpetrators, yeah? They're not participating in a minute of silence for the victims. No, they're bending the knee. They're showing humility and deference towards the perpetrators. And I didn't hear any booing from the fans, at least, well, I didn't watch the game, obviously, but I didn't read about any negative reactions to this absolutely disgusting gesture. I guess you could interpret that as mocking the victims, but I wouldn't even say that. I think that it just doesn't register with them. This is so far below their radar they don't care about these events. They don't care about that at all. They care about the rainbow flag and about these cheap statements that doesn't cost them anything. So they think that an open society and tolerance are so important, but when there are actual victims, then they just ignore it. But of course, it is easy for them to ignore it because they're all overpaid millionaires. They are entertainers in a globalist machine, and their purpose is to keep the masses occupied, distracted, and, well, entertained, yeah. And then what I really found interesting is there is some sort of foreigners council in the city of Würzburg, apparently, and I think there are these councils in every town or major city in Germany, and they also had a statement, and their biggest issue once again is that some Germans might have suspicions now when they are confronted with foreigners. Yeah, that is the biggest concern right now, I am sure. And they said that they need more money from the German workers. They need better integration and they need more help, etc., etc. What that I'm translating now, okay? What that means is more translators, more social workers, more programs that specifically only target them, that only they are profiting from, while German workers have to pay for that. Let that sink in for a while. Something like the events in Würzburg happens, and shortly afterwards, they are publishing a statement in which they demand more money from Germans, or else. And overall, and I'm not lying here, most of the politicians who said anything about that were sure to add that right-winged radicals are the biggest threat in Germany right now, and we need to do more against right-wingers. Yes, I'm not kidding. They actually mix that into their statements, that as if that has anything to do with that. And how disgusting and how low is that when something like that has just happened and they're saying, oh, but others are doing something too. And it's not even correct. It's not even factually true what they're saying. So you can see once again that what is seen by most Germans still as conservative political parties and conservative politicians, they are the biggest problem. They are actually very good friends with Antifa. They are connected to globalist NGOs, and they were the ones that opened the gates. It wasn't the Green Party who did that. No, it was Angela Merkel, a conservative politician. And Horst Seehofer, the traditionalist right-winger from Bavaria, he is concerned about suspicions in the population and that we need to do more for correct and proper integration. And we need more money and more efforts in order to help these poor victims who are seeking help and protection here in Germany. And once again, 90% of Germans are okay with that. The only way in which you can understand that is that from early childhood onwards, there was intense programming and brainwashing here in Germany. It starts in kindergarten and it goes all the way through school, university, and also then at the workplace and everywhere. The lie is omnipresent and there is no other version. There is no other story or narrative that is being told next to the lie or as an alternative to the lie. And it is very convenient and sometimes even necessary to believe and to perpetuate this lie if you want to get ahead in German society. And there are only approximately 10% of Germans who have any issues with these things that happen here, with these violent things. Most of them are okay with it, and also a couple of them are actually cheering for the perpetrators. And that is really all I can say about that. Servus, Kameraden.